right, welcome everybody back to another live stream edition of Defining an MSP Platform. Really happy to have you. For those of you that are joining us live today, it's Friday. It's a little casual. We're having a good time. We're all coming to you from beautiful Tampa, Florida, where it's sunny and hot, and the summer is already upon us. So thanks again for joining us. My name is Brian Troy. I'm the Senior Director of Product Marketing at ConnectWise. We're welcoming back Jeff Bishop, our GM and EVP of ASIO and Unified Monitoring and Management. We've got a special guest today. Really excited to have Oz with us. This is Oz's first live stream, so I know he's pumped to be here. Oz, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me here today. So I just joined ConnectWise. It's going into my second month here, so 60 days and running. But it's exciting. We're executing on this vision of building some of the best-in-class hyperautomation technologies to help our partners really make it easy for them to implement our technologies, especially around automation. I think, as a company, we've always helped our partners automate, right? And this is all about hyperautomation. Now we take that automation, put more automation around it, put intelligent automation around it, put some AI around it, and the industry's done this in the enterprise space. And how do we bring this down to the MSP, TSP space? So I'm excited to be here. I came over here from some of the enterprise low-code intelligent automation players out in the market. And so we had platform plays out there. We'll talk a little bit about platform later in our conversation. We'll talk about the different components that make up hyperautomation, because hyperautomation means a lot to a lot of different people, and we can help to sort of streamline where our vision is and what we're doing. There's a lot of talk about AI, where AI fits into the hyperautomation story. So we'll get into it here in a little bit.
Great. Well, thanks. Glad to have you here, Oz. So something that Jeff and I did last week that we thought was a little bit fun, given it is Friday, we want to keep it a little bit casual. What do you got going on this weekend? What are the big plans?
Yeah, so I got my daughter's doing a regatta. So those that are have had the opportunity to go
Very
to
cool.
rowing. She's on our school row team, and so over in Sarasota, they have their state championships or state tournaments for the regatta. So I'll be making a trek over to Sarasota this evening and get a chance to watch her out on the water and see and root for her.
Very cool. Well, wish her the best, and hopefully they can bring home the championship. Jeff, what about you? What do you got going on this weekend, my friend?
Well, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do this afternoon, Brian. I'm sitting here we're all sitting in an office, and you talked about how beautiful it is outside, and we're right beside the river. I feel like we should have done this one outside in one of the areas around the building, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm going to enjoy the weather and just kind of relax, I hope.
Yeah, hey,
and you?
We've got lots of kids' activities as well. So birthday parties, soccer games, baseball games, football games, you name it. So plenty of just, activities. But hey, sometimes those weekends where you don't have any plans, those are the best ones. So, all right. Well, hopefully everybody tuning in is also getting ready to have a great weekend. We're not going to keep you very long today, but we do want to get into our conversation around what it really means to define a true MSP platform. If you've caught the other live streams that we've done, we've talked a little bit about what we're seeing out there in the industry, kind of this new era of silos of chaos emerging with our partners, with MSPs in general, trying to figure out how to manage all of the different tool sets that they use to run their business, how to make sure that things stay connected, and how to eliminate a lot of those challenges that come with all of these disparate tools. And so, when we talk about silos of chaos at ConnectWise, that's a term we've been using for 40 years, and it really had a lot to do with the PSA. But now what we're seeing as more and more point solutions come to the market, you got to make sure that you're connecting these things in the right way. And that's where we feel having a true platform is really what the MSP of the future is going to save. So, Jeff, maybe you could touch on a little bit, just real quick for anybody that hasn't joined previously, some of the costs that we see by kind of, going and having all of these different disjointed systems that happen.
Well, hopefully, we got all kinds of videos out on YouTube, Brian, so we probably should, maybe link in and try to give some insights to ASIO. But look, we've had 20 plus, 30 plus different products for years, and we have the same problems that a lot of the companies do, which is you're having to interconnect these through APIs, you're queuing up data, you've got data in disparate databases, you're having to set up users and train them in all the different products. And all of this creates time and expense for our MSP partners that look, they really want to just focus on their businesses, focus on growing their customers, providing best in class service, not trying to maintain APIs or connections in between products. And so moving towards a true platform will allow them to kind of live in one spot, train and educate people into one product, one interface. What we're going to talk about a little bit today is how powerful the data, consolidating all the data into a single data lake and data warehouse, and what that means for hyperautomation. It just starts to really streamline and clean things up. And that's what we all want, right? We want to come in, provide an excellent service for our partners, innovate, do fun things, not have to worry about managing our tech stacks behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, that's great. And if you tuned in last week, we spent about 30 minutes talking about the importance of a centralized data layer and the different opportunities that creates from the platform. One of the biggest in the area that we want to focus today is it allows you to realize true hyperautomation. So whenever we talk about hyperautomation at ConnectWise, we've got a couple of different angles that we feel are very important. And today we're going to focus on our RPA capabilities. And Oz, as a leader in our hyperautomation team and someone that's very familiar with this, maybe tell us a little bit about just kind of what RPA is and how we're approaching that at ConnectWise.
Yeah, sure. So the key to hyperautomation is simplifying, right? So we are simplifying how you can adopt hyperautomation. So if you think about the part that we'll talk about today, which is around RPA or robotic process automation, you can think about it in two major ways or functions to add to your business. One is around automating workflows and creating an orchestration layer to be able to automate tasks and processes. And then you have the robotic process bots that allow you to take a set of tasks and automate the whole process. So it's actually doing the manual processes from beginning to end in an automated fashion. So those are the two areas that we're trying to simplify and allow you to sort of implement and put in. Not only that, but usually when you're thinking about automating, there's a lot of custom scripting that's usually in place. There's a lot of coding that needs to happen in the background, a lot of integrations. So what we've done is we've actually led with a strategy around a framework for low code. So whether you're a technical manager, an operations manager, or a business manager, you can implement hyperautomation into your environment because we're using low code to just click and drag and drop, configure versus code, and get the same if not enhanced amount of automation that you can add to your business.
Very cool. So, Jeff, sometimes whenever you and I are just brainstorming in your office and Oz is in there, we're all writing on the whiteboard, I've seen you draw up kind of, the Venn diagram of your vision of hyperautomation. You want to maybe spend a minute just kind of breaking that down and tell us what you think that means for everybody and how that comes together?
I don't know if it's my vision, but I think what you're seeing commonly out there in the industries is that connection point between the data lake and the data warehousing that you need for AI, right? You start to build these great models, but if they can only work on top of like a single table or a small database, then they're somewhat limited in what they can do. When you can put AI over top of all of your data, it can start to span the intelligence across, say, quoting and procurement into your security and start to intertwine that in what the insights it brings back. Now, it's great. You've got all this data, all this intelligence, but how does it connect things? How does it kick off actions? How does it create that automation that Oz is talking about here? And that's where the automation layer starts to come in, the RPAs, the workflows, the bots, because now it's got all this insights and things to do, and it can actually go do those for you or nudge you along the path.
Very cool. Awesome. So, one of the things I want to do now is I want to bring up a slide that we've used at ConnectWise to demonstrate the hyperautomation use cases that we see for MSPs. And we're very fortunate at ConnectWise. Service leadership is a part of the ConnectWise family, and there is no one in the industry that has better data than service leadership on trends as well as what best-in-class organizations look like. And whenever we take a hyperautomation approach to that, we see a ton of opportunity. And what this graphic that you're seeing here on screen is depicting are the different areas that we feel hyperautomation can impact MSPs that lead to a 25% profit increase, which is what you see in the dark blue. A 40% profit increase is what you see in the lighter blue. And then in the green, as high as a 50% profit increase whenever we can implement hyperautomation in these use cases. And, this is information that's based on what we're seeing in best in class. And so I know whenever I attend IT Nation Connect or Automation Nation or any of our events, we throw this slide up. This is the one everybody pulls out their phones, everybody takes a picture, because it's true. It's like there are things in our business that we have automation around. But when we're talking about taking automation to the next level, you as an MSP can start to realize these profitability increases yourself. And so, Jeff, Oz, we've got a bunch of different use cases here, a bunch of different columns. Is there anything in this graph that stands out to you as an opportunity that MSPs can start to take advantage of immediately?
Oz, you want to start, or do you want me to lead off?
Yeah, sure. You go ahead, Jeff, and I can add on top.
My favorites. I won't. I'm not going to pick a singular box here, Brian. But what I'm going to talk about is the service delivery. I think is the fun one. It's almost a low hanging fruit. You get 10, 12, 15 support tickets a day per technician, and there's always the time it takes to analyze the ticket, make sure you've triaged it correctly, make sure that you've maybe assigned the right user to it or the technician to it from a round robin perspective, and then the responding of the tickets and all that. So there's so much that you have to do there that Hyperautomation can come in and really augment for you, save you a ton of time. That's where we're seeing a lot of our technicians kind of onboard and get involved there. But I also want to just reiterate before Oz hops in, that's often where we see a lot of our MSP partners stop, they don't go all the way through to each area of their business. Start thinking about procurement and logistics and sales and marketing, all the back end office functions. There's so many different things that you can use here. It's not just the service delivery aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, to sort of augment what Jeff's saying, right? There's a few different ways that I think you can look at it as a partner. One is what Jeff was talking about. There's other areas where, especially talking to the smaller MSPs and TSPs that are out there, it allows you to hit above your belt size as reference to boxing, right? So you now can keep up with just as much demand and volume and be able to automate some of those processes for your customers by implementing hyperautomation into your business, right? So you can resolve faster, reduce costs of those resolution times. You can, instead of having to look for 5 or 10 more new hires into the business, you can uptrain your existing hires and use automation to be able to to create those resolutions faster using hyperautomation. It's a pretty cool journey that you can take, and as you start to go up from 25% to 40 to 50%, you start to see this maturity of hyperautomation. It becomes easier and easier because you're already, when you start, you want to figure out, okay, where do I start? Like, can I do my 360 onboarding? Do I start with where I'm getting the most tickets? Do I start with where I have the most vulnerabilities and security? And do I want to automate those tasks and those processes? And then once you start creating these processes, you start to just group them together. And before you know it, you're 50, 60% optimization of whatever metric you're using, whether it's efficiency, optimizations, costs, margins. It's a journey, and you got to figure out where to start, but you'll see immediate value depending on the use cases that you use.
Yeah. And you hit on one of the ones that I think is the biggest opportunity, and one of the ones that I hear most from MSPs is kind of that onboarding, the 360 onboarding and even offboarding. That's an area that MSPs have been automating forever, as much as you possibly can. The challenge is that up until now, you really couldn't automate everything. There were always going to be manual steps that you had to do, and it was the same thing over and over and over and over again, all day, every day. And that's an area that we're seeing a lot of our partners that are using our hyperautomation products and our RPA product really take advantage of, because they're able to take automation beyond what they've just done through simple integrations with RMM and PSA. And they're taking that to the next level where they're automating 90% of that process, maybe even more. And they're starting to realize, I think it falls into that 40% profit increase bucket. But I know that there's a lot of people out there. And, as MSPs, right, time is money. Every hour that someone spends doing something, especially something that's repetitive, is one less hour of profitability. And we really see this as an opportunity to increase that profitability in a very competitive market right now. I mean, profitability is important because it's a competitive MSP market. And so that onboarding and offboarding is one that I've always loved. Anything else you guys want to chat about on this one before we kind of get to the next topic?
No, I just hope everybody got their cameras out and got the picture. But otherwise, yeah, let's keep going on.
Yeah. Make sure you get your cameras out. The other thing too is keep an eye out. We're going to be doing a blog series breaking down the different components of each of these use cases for MSPs. That'll go into a little bit more detail. So make sure you check out the ConnectWise blog, and we'll be getting that out shortly. So I wanted to spend a couple of minutes now specifically on our solution on ConnectWise RPA, and I kind of want to kick it back over to you, Oz, to tell our viewers and our partners and those in the industry kind of where we're going and what we're doing and some of the things that we see are going to be helpful for our MSP partners.
Yeah, sure. So, I'll put it down to one statement, right? So we want to be best in world, not just best in class, right? We want to make it simple, and beyond that, we want to create undeniable value for those that are implementing our RPA and scientific solutions, right? So the name of the game is minimize cost, maximize margins, optimize efficiency, better customer satisfaction. So if you think about it from that lens, right, and then you start to take it down to the product level, you start to look at what we offer. We can say that the ability to use RPA and then creation of workflows within there is really to simplify how you're working today. So as a common technician or operator of your company, we want to simplify your job. How many people say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to come in and I'm going to work on 20 tickets that do the same exact thing of provisioning a user or onboarding a user? No, it's not why I wake up in the morning. Let's make it more enjoyable for you as a user to be able to come in and do more meaningful work, right? It's not about replacing your job. It's about doing more meaningful work. And so what you'll see is our hyperautomation technologies allow you to easily implement this. And something that's different, and what I'd love you to sort of take a look at is taking a look at hyperautomation from a single stack level versus at a platform level. We'll talk a little bit about ASIO, either later today or in other live sessions. But taking a look at it from a platform perspective has its advantages, right? So you're going beyond just solving a particular problem, buying to solve one problem or buying to solve two problems. We want to make it as easy as possible to be able to work with, whether it's a ConnectWise integration or whether it's a third-party integration, and being able to automate, pull in information, pull in data, pull in AI, pull in workflows, APIs, connectors. We want to make it as easy as possible. And we even want our partners to go out there and build their own repository of these bots and workflows to make it easier for them, and then they can share it out to the community. And it's all about just making it easier for all of us to use hyperautomation within our own environment. So that's sort of the strategy and architecture of what a platform-based hyperautomation solution does.
Awesome. And Jeff, as kind of the leader of this business unit and the visionary behind a lot of this stuff, where do you see us taking RPA, and what are some of the things that you're excited about?
Well, I'm certainly handing that over to Oz in the go forward, VP of Hyperautomation there. But look, when we set this out, we wanted to sort of build upon the automation we've had at ConnectWise for years between the PSA and RMM, Screen Connect, and CPQ and other products. We looked around the industries, both enterprise and SMB, and said, okay, we love the power and the extensibility we were seeing in certain areas. And we love the simplicity we were seeing in some of the B2C type solutions. But in our world, we needed to make sure and have a proper blend. Our technicians need to have that capability to really build out exhaustive, just completely capable workflows and bots to do everything they need. But they also need to be able to hand the tools over to back office teams that may not be quite as technical, but they could go create onboarding for employees or for sales or marketing and create their own processes. So what I love about what Oz and team have is it's just simple drag and drop BPM and sort of solution. We just drag on triggers, drag on actions, draw the line between them. It reminds me of the old pipes for any of the engineers that are out there. Like, it's just really cool and very simplistic. And then you go click on the action and say, what do you want? And then it just gives you a list. And you're like, Microsoft Teams, and it just gives you all the actions you can have, or ConnectWise PSA, or Automate, or RMM, or any of these. There's just so many different options. And the whole thing is Lego blocks. You need a custom action for some other third-party product you have. That's great. Just go hook up the APIs and then make sure that we can then call out, we bring it back in, and you create, for those that have ever played around with like Postman, you just say, hey, I need to go get this API, and it brings it in, it shows you what the data is, and then you create that Lego block and you drop it into the list, and now anybody in your team or organization can start to use that Lego block to create their own automation. So it's very clean, it's very easy. Really anybody can do it. So I love the balance there that the team is having. And to tell you what, I show the picture of that workflow all the time because I just think it's just really beautiful the way it kind of gets laid out there. And then now that they've started working on some of the other key pieces that Oz will probably show at Secure, sort of a nudge there for that one, Brian. If you're going to be at IT Nation Secure in June, you get to see some of the work the team has done around triggers and forms and some other pretty cool stuff. Not to give it all away, but we went from here it is in November to it's really, really good now to like this is going to go into like enterprise level capabilities and competitiveness going into like June. So in from start to finish, not finished ever, but from the time we sort of working on this till June, that's less than 12 months, and the team has really done some amazing work.
Yeah, it really has been amazing to see. And, that simplicity, I love that because even I can do it. The drag and drop capability makes it, it's a piece of cake. And then the graphic that you show all the time, Jeff, I know it gets lots of applause. Part of that is because it's in dark mode, which, if you're a ConnectWise partner and you're not taking advantage of dark mode yet, go ahead and definitely check it out. So we're going to wrap up here because, we've had a really good 20-minute conversation. But before we do that, I just wanted to point out, if you are a ConnectWise partner and you're interested in learning more about what we're doing for Hyperautomation, make sure you're checking out the virtual community. I get all of the notifications for the Hyperautomation conversations, and I'm telling you, it is going like crazy. Oz is in there, his team is in there, Jeff's in there. There are a lot of experts that will allow you to get the information you need quickly from the virtual community. So make sure you're checking that out. The other thing Jeff called out, we've got IT Nation Secure and Automation Nation right around the corner. There are going to be a lot of hands-on workshops and a lot of opportunities to really get in and learn how you can take advantage of some of these use cases that we've got up on the screen. Also more information in the university or in the virtual community as well as on connectwise.com there. And then lastly, make sure you tune in next week. Next week is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about the other side of the Hyperautomation coin. And it's not really the other side, but the other element there. And we're going to get into AI. And we're going to talk about how, certainly AI is changing the way that we interact with our jobs. And it's changing a lot of, the MSP landscape. And we've got some really cool stuff that we're doing at ConnectWise to try to make our MSPs, more profitable, more efficient, and really drive that forward. And so we'll be back next week with another special guest talking about AI. So with that, I'll go ahead and say, Oz, thanks again for hanging out with us. Look forward to doing many more of these with you. Jeff, as always, it's a good time. And for everybody watching and for those that catch us a little bit later, thank you very much. I hope you liked it. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thanks.